Happy Waiver Wire Tuesday, everyone. Today we have a lot of great players to pick up. We had a crazy week last week from Bijan Robinson not playing because of a headache to the Detroit Lions defense just getting absolute boat raced from the Baltimore Ravens. Don't worry, we have answers and we got some great targets for y'all. If you guys have any questions, please leave it down in the comment section or join our Discord. The link is in the description. We answer every single question all times of day and nights. Let's get into it. As always, we do talk about quarterbacks, and the first quarterback I want to talk about is Kyler Murray. I'm not the biggest fan of Kyler Murray. Y'all know this if you watch the show. I don't like him as a human being, but fantasy purposes, I like what he could do because of his legs. I know some people are skeptical whether he's going to be able to use his legs or not coming off of this injury. I'm going to cash in that he does. And right now, he's available. And I think eventually, if he does get back to the old fantasy Murray that we know, he could be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Now, he is owned in 49% of rosters already. That's why I'm saying go out there, pick him up now because time is running out. I don't expect him to come in till week 9, probably week 10. So go out there. If you have a roster spot available, just pick him up. It could be very beneficial for y'all. Up next, let's talk about Derek Carr. We talked about Derek Carr last week, and he did pretty good. He did decent. He had 3 back-to-back games averaging 16 points. Now, going forward, he is going up against the Indianapolis Colts, so he should have another great match. Great streamer option for a quarterback if you're in absolute need of one. We're going to run into a position that has a lot of options this week. We're not going to get through all of them, so if you want to see the full list and you want to see a paper that looks like this, join our Discord. I release it every Tuesday. It should be out there right now if you join today. Number 1 on the running back list, let's talk about Darrell Henderson. Man, oh man, this was late in the news, right? Yeah, Sean McVay saying, yeah, we're picking up Henderson. I like this guy a lot. He knows our system. He's very good. And guess what? It looks like this guy's going to be the workhorse. Not the complete workhorse, but he is what it seems like splitting that backfield 60-40, and that's good enough for me to pick him up if I'm in need of a running back. He's owning 36% of leagues right now, so he's out there. He's available. He had a rushing touchdown. He is going up against Dallas. I'm not too fond about that, so he may have a rough match. But going forward, until Kyrie Williams comes back, this should be your guy. Another guy I want to talk about is Amari DeMarcado. This is a guy that I'm going to admit, I was completely wrong about. I told y'all to pick him up 2 weeks ago. Last week, I said, go out and drop him. It is a 3-back committee out there in Arizona. I don't trust anyone out there. All of a sudden, Arizona wants to switch everything up, prove that I'm wrong, and they used Amari as their lead back, and it wasn't even close. This guy he's being used like a bell cow. The next guy with the most rushing attempts was the quarterback, Joshua Dobbs. So go out there, pick up DeMarcado if he's still available. He should be. He's only owned 20% of leagues. I think everyone had the same idea, but they're going up against Baltimore, who are not shy of giving up points to running backs. The last running back I do want to talk about is Devin Singletary from the Houston Texans. I was on the urge of telling y'all last week to go out there and pick this guy up, but they did go on by, so I knew he was going to be available this upcoming week. He's only owned 20% of leagues. But this guy, if they continue the trend that he's on, he increased his snap percentage and he almost doubled the amount of rushing attempts that he is used to. I know Dameon Pierce is the lead back out there, but he's just not producing for the type of volume that he's getting. Devin Singletary looks really good, and if it continues to trend this way, he could eventually see some pretty high production in that offense. So he's out there, he's available. This is a guy you should stash. Up next, let's go up against the wide receivers. Number 1, I want to talk about Kendrick Bourne. We talked about these guys last week, or if you're in our Discord, you saw my sheet. I'm going to talk about 2 guys that I had last week because we just hit very well on these guys. Number 1 is Kendrick Bourne. He is only 39% of leagues, and I don't like that offense, but he is the clear-cut wide receiver 1 for Mac Jones. Don't like him whatsoever. I think he's a horrible quarterback and a horrible human. But they are going against the Miami Dolphins, and he should be very productive because Miami, as we saw Sunday night, the Dolphins don't have the greatest defense. So he should go out there. He should have himself a decent day if Mac Jones is cooperating. Up next is Josh Downs. This is another guy that we hit tremendously on. Guys, we said it last week. We said this may be Gardner Minshew's favorite target. It's too early to see. We've seen it. This is his guy. Josh Downs will be that dude for Indianapolis for Gardner Minshew. Now with Anthony Richardson out for the season, we know that it's feeding time for Josh Downs. It is officially Josh Downs season. Let's hit up some tight ends, y'all. Tight ends are still very scarce. We got two guys I want to talk about. One I was very high on at the beginning of the season, and that is Dalton Kincaid. Now, this may be way too early to say. They did just come off of bye, and you see these teams starting to transition to the play style that they want to trend to after the bye weeks. This just may be Kincaid's season going forward, right? I think Dawson Knox is a droppable candidate at this point, but Kincaid saw 8 targets last week. Now that is awesome for a Buffalo offense. I think going forward, Kincaid should be their guy. Up next is a guy we talk about at least once a year, and it's that time of year again. Let's talk about Taysom Hill. I feel like I can't ignore this guy. He's only owning 13% of rosters. And now I hate talking about this guy because of how inconsistent he is as far as production. What does he do? Is he a receiver, tight end, fullback, running back, quarterback? It's just so much to go around. But we've already had back-to-back weeks that he had 10 plus points for fantasy football. This is something you can't ignore. Now, they are going to be against the Indianapolis Colts, so an easier matchup as far as defense to tight ends, I would say. But we could definitely see this guy going with a new game plan for the New Orleans Saints. We saw this once Kamara got back. So now that Kamara's back, they might have a new offensive system. And if this continues to trend the way it is, Taysom Hill, maybe a very good option for you. I doubt it, but it's worth a stash if you have the room. He's only owning 13% of leagues. Now let's get to streaming some defenses. Last week we did pretty good, except for the Lions. The Lions did not pan out for us, but I mean, they just got boat raced in that game. Kind of embarrassing. But this week we got the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Steelers. I'm still not a believer of that Steelers offense just yet. So I like the Jaguars. They have a stellar defense and should do pretty good for fantasy football. Up next, we got the Houston Texans against the Carolina Panthers coming off a bye week. Houston should have a very great day against a very poor offense with the Carolina Panthers, who still are trying to figure out what they're doing offensively. Up next, I have the Raiders at Lions. I do feel like the Lions will come back, redeem themselves against a Brian Hoyer ran offense. That offense looked pretty bad last week. So I'm going to say the Lions come back. They're a little pissed off and they're going to, dominate defensively. Last one is the Kansas City Chiefs against the Broncos. The Broncos just had a great game against the Green Bay Packers, but I'm not falling for it. I think the Chiefs are going to absolutely shut them down. Go out there, pick up the Chiefs against the Broncos, and that should help you out. If this video has helped you out, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button. And until next time, keep on grinding.